Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Srimad Bhagavatam 8th Canto, Chapter 20, Text 24. Bali Maharaj surrenders the universe. There are many, many verses without purports. Mr. President, what do you usually do? A lot of verses. Oh, it's all interesting. It's Srimad Bhagavatam. Sanjam vibhor vasasi guya aikshat. Prajapatin jagane atma mukyan. Nabhyam nabakukshashu sapta sindhun. Arukramas yorasi charkshamalam. Sanjam vibhor vasasi guya aikshat. Prajapatin jagane atma mukyan. Nabhyam nabakukshashu sapta sindhu. Urukramasyorasi charkshamalam. Sandhyam vibhor vasasi guya aikshat. Prajapatin jagane atma mukyan. Nabhyam nabhakukshashu sapta sindhun. Urukramasyorasi charkshamalam. Vaishnavis. Sanjam, the evening twilight. Vibho, of the Supreme. Vasasi, in the garment. Guye, on the private parts. Aikshat, he saw. Prajapatin, the various Prajapatis who had given birth to all living entities. Jaghane, on the hips. Atma Mukya, the confidential ministers of Bali Maharaj. Nabhyam, on the navel. Nabha, the whole sky. Kukshishu, on the waist. Sapta, 7. Sindhun, oceans. Urukramasya, of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is acting wonderfully. Urasi, on the bosom. Cha, also. Rikshamalam, the clusters of stars. Translation. Bali Maharaj saw beneath the garments of the Lord, who acts wonderfully, the evening twilight. In the Lord's private parts, he saw the Prajapatis, and in the round portion of the waist, he saw himself with his confidential associates. In the Lord's navel, he saw the sky. On the Lord's waist, he saw the 7 oceans. And on the Lord's bosom, he saw all the clusters of stars. My dear king, on the heart of Lord Murari, he saw religion. On the chest, both pleasing words and truthfulness. In the mind, the moon. On the bosom, the goddess of fortune, with a lotus flower in her hand. On the neck, all the Vedas and all sound vibrations. On the arms, all the demigods headed by King Indra. In both ears, all the directions. On the head, the upper planetary systems. On the hair, the clouds. In the nostrils, the wind. On the eyes, the sun. And in the mouth, fire. From his words came all the Vedic mantras. On his tongue was a demigod of water, Varunadev. On his eyebrows were the regulative principles, and on his eyelids were day and night. When his eyes were open, it was daytime, and when they were closed, it was night. On his forehead was anger, and on his lips was greed. O king, in his touch were lusty desires, in his semen were all the waters. On his back was irreligion, and in his wonderful activities or steps was the fire of sacrifice. On his shadow was death. In his smile was the illusory energy. On the hairs of his body were all the drugs and herbs. In his veins were all the rivers. On the nails were all the stones. In his intelligence were Lord Brahma, the demigods, and the great saintly persons. And throughout his entire body and senses were all living entities, moving and stationary. Bali Maharaj thus saw everything in the gigantic body of the Lord. O king, when all the demons, the followers of Maharaj Bali, saw the universal form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who held everything within his body, when they saw in the Lord's hand his disc, known as Sudarshan Chakra, which generates intolerable heat, and when they heard the tumultuous sound of his bow, all these caused lamentation within their hearts. The Lord's conch shell named Panchajanya, which made sounds like that of a cloud. The very forceful club named Kumadiki, the sword named Vijadhara, with a shield decorated with hundreds of moon-like spots, and also Akshayasayaka, the best of quivers. All of these appeared together to offer prayers to the Lord. These associates, headed by Sunanda and other chief associates, and accompanied by all the predominating deities of the various planets, offered prayers to the Lord, who wore a brilliant helmet, bracelet, and glittering earrings that resembled fish. On the Lord's bosom were the lock of hair called Srivatsa, and the transcendental jewel named Kaustubha. He wore a yellow garment covered by a belt, and he was decorated by a flower garland, surrounded by bees. Manifesting himself in this way, O King, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, whose activities are wonderful, covered the entire surface of the earth with one footstep, the sky with his body, and all directions with his arms. Purport. One might argue, since Bali Maharaj promised Vamanadeva only the land occupied by his steps, why did Lord Vamanadeva occupy the sky also? In this regard, Srila Jiva Goswami says that the steps include everything, upward and downward. When one stands up, he certainly occupies certain parts of the sky and certain parts of the earth below his feet. Thus, there was nothing uncommon for the Supreme Personality of Godhead when he occupied the entire sky with his body. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Militang Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Sivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Lord Vamanadeva is now Trivikram, in that from the dwarf Brahmana boy has come the universal form. And as you heard from the purport, Vamanadeva's steps, now as Trivikram, mean that he occupies the space above him, as well as how his arms extend, not just what's under his feet. This universal form is a display that the Supreme Personality of Godhead can manifest and unmanifest. As you know, in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna showed that universal form to Arjuna. He said, this one no one's seen before. So Krishna can produce these visions of universal form at will. Arjuna needed divine vision to see the universal form. Mother Yashoda, however, saw the universal form with her direct eyesight. Krishna was in a difficult situation, it would seem. His cowherd boyfriends, the little boys, had turned him in. They dobbed him into Mother Yashoda because Mother Yashoda told the little cowherd boys, keep an eye on Krishna. And Balaram, you're his elder brother. Especially you, keep an eye on him. And so there's some disagreement or alternative perceptions are possible whether or not Krishna actually ate dirt. Sometimes it's said he pretended to eat dirt. Other times it's said he did eat dirt. In any case, his cowherd boyfriends reported him dutifully to Mother Yashoda, who was upset. Transcendental anxiety. There's also anxiety in the spiritual world, but it all results in Satchidananda, eternity, knowledge, and bliss. We should not be under the Mayavad or impersonal conception that spiritual life means all variegated is wiped out. No, the spiritual world is full of unlimited variety, all perfectly in relation to Krishna. And all the varieties produce the same effect in terms of Satchidananda, eternity, full knowledge, and bliss. Whether it's distress or happiness, anxiety, peacefulness, everything is simply Satchidananda. That's why sometimes we can be a little surprised to hear statements like Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur said, that the happiness of Dwarka stands on the head of the happiness of Ayodhya. The happiness of Ayodhya, going backwards the other way, stands on the head of the happiness of Vaikuntha. So now let's go up. The happiness of Dwarka stands on the head of the happiness of Ayodhya. And the happiness of Braj, Goloka Vrindavan, stands on the head of all other happinesses. But what's more, the distress, the anxiety in Braj stands on the head of all the other happinesses. So not just the happiness in Braj, but also the distress, the anxiety. This is true Advaya Gyan, knowledge of non-duality. True knowledge of non-duality doesn't simply mean monotonous oneness, where all variegatedness is wiped out. True Advaya Gyan means in the spiritual world there are unlimited varieties, but they all result in pleasure for Krishna and his devotees. So Mother Yashoda was upset. What's wrong with the sweets in my home? Now my boy, he's always doing mischief. He's eating dirt. And what was Krishna's response? These boys are lying. They're angry at me. But Mother Yashoda said, look, even your older brother Balaram is saying that too. The Acharyas point out that Krishna could reply, actually, Balaram has a reason to lie. 2 weeks ago, he ate dirt. And to cover up that, he's dobbing me in. But actually, it's Balaram who's at fault. But Mother Yashoda didn't buy it. Krishna, all your friends and Balaram are saying you ate dirt. Krishna says, no, they're lying. This is Krishna imitating the adorable behavior of little children. I'm not lying, you're lying. I didn't steal it, you did. He's doing that to give the residents of Vrindavan such variegated pleasure. So Mother Yashoda had a simple solution. All right, if what you're saying is true, open your mouth. Oh, Krishna obviously had to think quickly. And who can think quicker than Krishna? But he likes it, these challenging situations. It's a chance to demonstrate his love for his devotee and to deepen the devotee's love for him. So Krishna said, all right, I'll open my mouth. He was thinking, the acharyas say, that the dirt, if he had eaten dirt, it would have disappeared in his mouth by now. So acting as a child, he calculated in that way. All right, I might have eaten some dirt, but I'll open my mouth and Mother Yashoda can look in it because I think the dirt has disappeared. That's Krishna in his Balya Leela, his childhood pastimes. But then, Krishna's also thinking as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, I don't want to be punished by my mother. I'll open my mouth and I'll show her something that will totally distract her from thinking that she should punish me. So that's what happened. She thought she was in for an ordinary experience of looking in Krishna's mouth, and Krishna showed her the whole cosmic manifestation. She saw the universal form within his mouth. Lord Brahma says actually the belly. How do you combine the two? Krishna, Mother Yashoda looked through the mouth and could see down in the belly, the universe, cosmic manifestation. So you can just understand her shock, her bewilderment. What's happening with my child? But Krishna was very careful to show his opulence in such a way that it wouldn't disturb her pure Vatsalya Prem, her pure parental love. This is the sweetness of Braj pastimes. Sometimes Krishna's Aishvarya, his opulence, wants to do service, wants to show itself, and comes to the fore. But it does it in such a way that it's within the scope of childhood attractiveness. Just like when Krishna kills Putana. He does it in a way that invokes childhood sweetness. He sucked her breast, yes, but he also sucked out her life. When he was riding on Trinavarta, he went so high in the sky to show the ladies in the heavenly planets his beauty. He didn't have to be picked up and carried into the sky by Trinavarta, but he wanted to enjoy riding. So he arranged the whole pastime that Mother Yashoda would put him down because he became inconceivably heavy. Krishna knew Trinavarta's coming to kidnap me. I want to take advantage of his kidnapping to ride on him in the sky, but I don't want my mother disturbed by her seeing right before her eyes me carried away, my being stolen by Trinavarta. So he became heavier, then heavier, then heavier. And Mother Yashoda, this is all arranged by Yoga Maya. Mother Yashoda put him down on the ground and was bewildered. She couldn't put him on the bed because she's thinking, he'll break the bed, he's so heavy. She's taking everything in her simple Mother Yashoda way. So she puts Krishna down on the ground and momentarily goes to take care of some household affairs. In that brief interval of time, Trinavarta came and grabs Krishna and takes him up into the air. Mother Yashoda came back to where she had put Krishna. She came back just a short time later, but Krishna's gone. You can imagine her devastation. She collapsed on the ground, lamenting like a cow that's lost her calf. Meanwhile, Krishna is having fun riding in the sky. So he's doing his affairs in Vrindavan in such a way that the sweetness is always preserved, even when his ice fire, his opulence, roars to the fore. So this is what happened when Mother Yashoda looks in Krishna's mouth. Krishna's ice fire Shakti wanted to show something. So it came to the fore, and she saw in Krishna's mouth, down into his belly, the whole universal form. So she does a checklist. What's going on here? Am I dreaming? No, I'm wide awake. Am I being bewildered by Deva Maya? The demigods are producing an illusion to bewilder me? No, I'm just a simple woman. Why would the demigods want to bewilder me and with some kind of mystic production? That can't be. Maybe I'm mentally deranged. No, I think I'm in pretty good health. Maybe this is done by my child. After all, Gargarishi said that this child will be like Narayan. Could it be my child is like Narayan? Could it be my child is the Supreme Personality of Godhead? She starts metaphysically speculating. Then she says, no, can't be. He can't be Narayan because when he's hungry and thirsty, he cries. When he doesn't get attention, he throws a temper tantrum. No. Meanwhile, Krishna is thinking, all right, enough of this metaphysical speculation. I want my mother's affection. If she's thinking I'm the Supreme Personality of Godhead, if she's thinking too much about this display of the universal form, who's going to feed me when I'm hungry? I want to be pampered. So he took that vision away. So Krishna can display the universal form at will, and he can make it disappear at will. Otherwise, do you think every time Mother Yashoda goes to feed Krishna, having him on her lap and she opens his mouth and gives him her breast to suck, just every time she sees the universal form? When she opens Krishna's mouth? No. Krishna produces these things, this vision of the universal form as he likes, and he withdraws it as he likes. It's a vision. as described in detail in the second canto of Bhagavatam. So now, Vamanadev, the little dwarf Brahmana boy, has become Tribikram. He's covered everything with one step, and then the second step, he's past the heavenly planets, and with his toes, he's punctured the coverings of the universe, and so the causal ocean is flowing through that hole as the Ganga. Where's his third step going to go? And this is exactly what Sukracharya predicted. Bali, don't do it. So it's very important for us to go over the reasons, the 9 reasons Sukracharya gives for Bali Maharaj, don't give the Brahmana boy what he wants. Because in those reasons, you'll find so much of our own hesitancy to give to Krishna. Sukracharya, in so many words, is saying, economic development comes first. True religiosity, true dharma, is that which does not disturb your economics, your finances. Because with your finances, you can do charity, sacrifice, austerity. But without finances, you're nothing. So best you don't do what this so-called Brahmana boy says. First reason is, what's his identity? This is actually Vishnu. Secondly, what's his purpose? What's his function? His purpose is to please the devatas, your enemies. Don't you understand, you fool? You can't give him what you promised. You already made the promise, but still don't follow through. And Sukracharya furthermore says, I'll tell you, he's like a lawyer. I'm going to find a loophole for you. The loophole is that you made a promise, but you didn't say Om first. So because you didn't say Om first, you can break your promise, you see? Anyway, he said, a little lying in this world is always necessary. And he gives us reasons that you can withdraw your promise or you can speak untruth to protect your livelihood, to preserve cow protection, to preserve brahmanas, in flattering a woman, in marriage. It's all right to say exaggerations and falsities. All these situations are okay. But whatever you do, don't fulfill your promise to this Brahmana boy because he's actually Vishnu. This is a very momentous occasion, and that's why Bali Maharaj was silent for some time and was deliberating. I have a guru who says, don't serve Vishnu. What kind of spiritual master is this? Now, one more reason Sukracharya gives is that you can speak lies. You can say that you have no money, even though you do have money. And in that way, you attract the compassion of others. I'm so poverty-stricken, I have no money to give in charity. Others will then give you money. So it's all right to protect your wealth. And Sukracharya is thinking about his own financial bottom line. I'm dependent on donations from my family. Not only me, but my whole family is dependent on donations from Bali Maharaj. So if he gives everything to Vishnu, my family will economically suffer. So Sukracharya is a priest, yet he's thinking like that. Now, why did Krishna, as Vamanadev, go through all this leela for the sake of dealing with Bali Maharaj? Bali Maharaj knew, actually, this is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But he also knew that the Lord wants to enjoy a loving exchange with me. So I'll go along with it. But at the same time, Bali Maharaj, as Bali Daitya in charge of the demons, he has to think what his constituency, what his voters are thinking. The demons rely on me for their support. So I can't just give in to Vamanadeva and give him everything without some pastime. And so we'll talk tomorrow how Bali Maharaj seems to agree partially with Sukracharya, but then turns the corner and comes to another conclusion. He partially seems to agree because he doesn't want the demons to be too enraged. He wants the demons to think that Bali he really had to think about it. When from the very beginning, Bali Maharaj is ready to give everything to Vamanadeva, but he said, all right, the Lord wants a bit of drama. I'll participate in the drama. Also, my supporters, they don't understand about how immediately I wanted to give everything to Vishnu out of love. They don't understand that. So I'll have a bit of dialogue, a little bit of suspense, just to prolong the situation, so that my demoniac fellows don't think I'm I'm just a complete religious fanatic. So, think about the reasons Sukracharya gave and how this is still present today. First comes your finances. Don't ever do anything that jeopardizes your finances. Never tell anyone how much money you have. Attract their compassion by saying, I've got nothing. But here's the morality. Don't do that all the time. Don't play that card all the time. But sometimes it's necessary. And in this situation, when this dwarf Brahmana boy, who's actually Vishnu, when he's asking for 3 steps of land, don't do it. You're going to go to hell. Why? Because you will not be able to fulfill your promise. So better, since you can't fulfill your promise, better to break your promise by just keeping everything and enjoying in this life. Now you may say, well, if I break my promise, I'll go to hell. But if I keep my promise, I'll still go to hell because I don't have enough for 3 steps of land taken by Vamanadeva. So Sukracharya says, look, either way, you're going to go to hell. Whether you keep your promise or not. But at least if you don't keep your promise, you get to enjoy in this life, and they go to hell. So I hope you don't have advisors like that. But let us understand, let's exhume, let's dig out from underneath our life the underlying financial principles. First, money, investment properties, then a little bit on the side for Vishnu. This is not Bali Maharaj's principle, as he's going to demonstrate. But this principle of a little bit for Vishnu and so much for me, never enough for me, this is such a bedrock principle of those who are a little bit theistic, a little bit of dharma they have in their life. Don't overdo it. I often point out, have you seen the verse in Bhagavad Gita where Krishna warns about too much Krishna? Has anyone ever seen that verse? But in our mind, it's there. Give a little bit to Krishna, a little bit of service, a little bit of Lakshmi. But the main thing is preserve your own ever-increasing material needs. What Vamanadeva has explained to Bali, because Bali actually up front criticized Vamanadeva, like, you just want 3 steps of land? What kind of Brahmana boy are you? You don't know how to ask for donations. I can give you gold, I can give you villages, I can give you wives. What? And you're just asking for 3 steps of land? You don't know what you're doing. But Vamanadev replied, if I'm not satisfied with 3 steps of land, I won't be satisfied if I possess the whole universe. Hey, you're about to lose it. If I take more than what I need, my desires will simply increase. I'll never have satisfaction. Sometimes at our special weekend events with the young men and ladies of the Bhakti Bhavan community and wider, I explain statistics, behavioral economics. With IT and statistics, you can calculate everything these days. So behavioral economists, Nobel Prize winners have calculated that demonstrating the Vamanadev principle of if I'm not satisfied with 3 steps, I won't be satisfied with the whole universe. They have calculated that this is US dollars, for every increase in your income of $1, your expectations go up $1.40. It's a treadmill. It's called the hedonic treadmill. Whatever you get, you want more. You think, if I just get this, I'll be satisfied. No, you don't understand the pool of the material energy that we're drowning in. That pool of material energy is all about discontent. You'll never find peace in fulfilling material desires because you're drowning in a pool of discontentment. So you get more, your expectations increase, especially in the association of others. And that's what it's all about. You want profile, you want prestige, you want respect. I have this much wealth, these property investments, this is my salary, this is my position. So again, the behavioral economists have shown that, let's say you can make it, what's a middle class salary in Australia? Average, who knows? 60,000. You're making 60,000. Let's say you now get a raise to 100,000. You're so happy. Oh, my purchasing power has increased so much. The more purchasing power you have, the more options are at your beck and call. That means success in life. Purchasing power leads to more options. And it all results in more comfort and more security in an uncomfortable, insecure world. So you've gone up from 60,000 to 100,000. You feel so happy for how long? Until you talk to your neighbor or your fellow devotee who's making 150,000. In other words, your happiness, your so-called happiness, is relative to whom you're associating with. So when you're associating with those who are making less than you, you feel, But then as soon as you associate with those who are making more than you, your so-called happiness is reduced. So this is how fragile and illusory is material happiness. So Vamanadev is pointing this out to Bali Maharaj. If I can't be satisfied with just a little bit, I'm not going to be satisfied with more because of the principle of dissatisfaction, discontentment. But Bali Maharaj says, all right, you're inexperienced, you don't know what you're doing, take whatever you want. And Bali Maharaj picks up his water pot. That's a symbolic gesture that I've taken up my water pot. That means it's a done deal. You can have you're a tiny boy, you'll have tiny steps. And that's when Sukracharya interferes. Stop! Just wait a minute here. You're endangering your family livelihood. You're going to lose everything. You're dealing with Hari. That word usually can strike terror into even devotees' hearts. Hari. Hari, he takes everything away. How to deal with Govinda and not Hari. He takes away impediments to pure bhakti, but I need those impediments. Even though they're all temporary in their existence, I need them. Often people ask, our devotees ask, why can't we have the material impediments and bhakti at the same time? But we forget what is life's greatest necessity. Prema pumarto mahan. The fifth need beyond dharma, artha, kama, moksha is love of Krishna. We have to remember what is the ultimate goal of life. Piety is not the ultimate. And Bali Maharaj is demonstrating this. He's responding out of love. So Bali Maharaj, he's taken up his water pot. Now you can take your 3 steps. But Sukracharya's warning, those 3 steps are taken by Hari. He takes everything away. Sukracharya obviously is not thinking about the upper level, shall we say, meaning of Hari. Yes, he takes away your material impediments to bhakti and gives you ecstatic love because he's taken away your material mind. Bali Maharaj knows that. Yes, he wants, let him take. My love for him will increase. So Sukracharya gave so many reasons why you can't do this. Economic profit comes first. So we have to look at our own life. Are we following the Sukracharya principle? What does it mean to be truly satisfied? It means accept the material facilities, happiness and distress that comes your way. Don't make a special endeavor for material happiness. Does that mean you just stay in a poverty-stricken situation? No, while trying in a non-extreme way, non-over-endeavor way, you try to fix your economic situation, while at the same time understanding your main pursuit in life is your spiritual development. So when do you know when something is an over-endeavor? Investment, cryptocurrency, this, that, the other, whatever you're doing. Working a second job, working a third job. When do you know it's too much? When your spiritual life is affected. So this Vamanade principle doesn't mean to be lazy. It means know when you're overdoing it. And how do you judge? When your spiritual life is negatively affected. So try to be as comfortable and secure as you can in an uncomfortable and insecure world. But remember, your main necessity is love of Krishna. Prema pramarto mahan. So Sukracharya is arguing on the bodily platform. And Sukracharya, as we said, is worried about his own wealth. Where are my donations going to come from if Vishnu takes everything away from Bali Maharaj? So the situation becomes so pressurized for Sukracharya that, as we said, he has to play lawyer and come up with some loophole. You didn't say Om before your promise. According to, and he quotes some remote Shastra. This is what you're paying me for, Bali. Don't worry, I'll protect your money. Some remote Shastra, Sukracharya quotes that A promise can be broken if it's not preceded by Om. But that's a loophole, but the foundational principle that Sukracharya is offering is one that we all can be affected by. Money comes first. Economic development first, and then try to fit into the picture some bhakti. That's the Sukracharya principle that we have to be aware of. Whereas Bali Maharaj, hearing the instruction of Vamanadev, knows spiritual development comes first. So tomorrow we will hear about Bali Maharaj's countering of Sukracharya's 9 objections. He doesn't have to say all that. Bali doesn't have to say all that. But he's speaking for he's speaking for the benefit of a wider audience. And he also doesn't want his fellow demons, as we said, to think that I just caved into Vishnu so easily. Although from the very moment Bali Maharaj saw Vamanadev, he wanted to give everything. But he's thinking, my Lord wants to enjoy pastimes. Let's go through it. Hare Krishna. Any questions? Comments? Yes, Aniruddha Prabhu.
Thanks, Maharaj. I've got a few questions. First one is, we see the universal form manifest quite a few times before the Bhagavad Gita is spoken. And yet Krishna says this form has never been seen before. And so my kind of thinking about that is, like, sometimes we can show our personality, we show different aspects of our personality, in different circumstances. And so even though it's the same universal form, it's a different presentation of it, and so therefore it's a form that's never been seen before. What's your thoughts on that?
What Krishna says, no one's seen this particular one before. The Acharyas also comment on that. It means that particular, as you said, universal form has not been seen by anyone before. Now, Mother Yashoda, seeing the universal form in Krishna's belly, as we said, went through a whole analysis in her simple motherly way, and then was about to conclude, is my son the Supreme Personality of Godhead? And then, no, we all know he's a little child. So Krishna, with his pastime energy, didn't allow her to dwell on this point too long. Who is he? Who is my child? He thought, who will feed me when I'm hungry? Who will pamper me? So Mother Yashoda concluded, whatever he is, he's my child and I need to feed him. So as we explained, it's not that every time Mother Yashoda goes to feed little Krishna, she sees the universal form in his mouth and belly. Krishna wanted to show the residents of Vrindavan, I'm not an ordinary child being attacked by demons. Look at this. But he only produced such a demonstration, such a manifestation to a certain point. He's always, as Bhakta Vatsal, he's always keeping an eye on the sweetness of the pastime. He doesn't want that sweetness to in any way be jeopardized. Because that's the way in Vrindavan. The sweetness always triumphs. Even sometimes when Krishna's Aishvarya, his opulence, makes a breakthrough. Anything else? Yes.
Thank you, Maharaj. Hare Krishna. So my question is, Maharaj, about Sukracharya's survival instincts that kicked in because of his financial insecurities, and that led him to mislead his dependent. So how do we ensure that we depend on Sri Krishna for our well-being, And when, in such life predicaments where our personal, sense of security is challenged and triggers us to act in a spiritually dishonest way.
I was just reading a verse this morning by Sukracharya Goswami for the second canto. Atta Kabir Namasu Yavadatra Syat Apramato Vivasaya Buddhi. If you're truly intelligent while living in this world of names, the material world is basic substances combining and permutating in various ways. So it's a world of names. So if you're truly a kavi, intelligent, you will not become mad by pursuing material goals in the world of names. Vyavasaya buddhi, your intelligence will be fixed. So Srila Prabhupada explains in the purport that Vyavasaya buddhi, intelligence fixed on living simply, means that even sometimes there's a challenge to your simple living, still with your intelligence you remain fixed on the principle. In other words, in this world of discomfort and insecurity, sometimes there'll be challenges, even to those who want to live simply. But Vyavasaya buddhi, your intelligence remains fixed on the principle, on the Vamanadev principle. You don't become bewildered like, if I just get that, then I'll be satisfied. To strengthen that intelligence, Vyavasaya buddhi, that is why regular hearing of Srimad Bhagavatam is so important. And you'll be affected by whom you associate with. So you get to decide how you want to aim your life. And that decision is influenced by whom you're associating with and how weak or strong your intelligence is. So Shukadeva Goswami says, don't become apramata, don't become maddened in the world of names. Yes.
Gurudev, you mentioned about the satisfaction principle. So we try to be satisfied with what we have, but at the same time, when we're trying to expand our services, we understand that our body and mind are limited in many ways. And so is it okay to pray to Krishna for better abilities to be able to expand our services?
Praying to Krishna for the strength, intelligence, and even the desire to expand your service. That's what you're doing when you're chanting Hare Krishna. Please engage me in your service. And certainly, besides chanting Hare Krishna with that kind of dedication, you can also pray to Sri Sri Radha Vallabha. How can I have more? If it's your desire, let me have more energy for serving you. The gopis, they worship Katyayani, demigoddess, but worshiping her to obtain Krishna. Katyayani, Maya. So certainly you can pray for whatever will help your service to be better. That's bhakti. You can aspire for more energy, physical energy to serve Krishna, but then don't become disturbed if sometimes exhaustion comes, sometimes illness comes. But the desire to serve Krishna more is always glorious. Just like Prabhupada taught us upon his disappearance. My dear Lord Krishna, if you so desire, please cure Srila Prabhupada. Because actually pure bhakti is unconditional. It's not dependent on any material factors. So if you say, oh, Krishna, in order to do more service, I have to have more physical energy, that's actually not pure bhakti. You can say, for the sake of your service, if you so desire, give me more energy. But I know that right now, there are no impediments to my doing some kind of service. Please help me to see that. That's pure bhakti. Pure bhakti is totally independent of material factors. How we can practice that takes some divine inspiration. You might say, well, look at this person. They're totally sick, no physical energy. How can they do devotional service? Somehow or other, there's some service that can be done, which Krishna will accept. So the overriding principle is pure bhakti is independent of any material circumstances, material situations. This is the real platform of life. That's why in the 11th canto, there's one verse that says, pure devotional service is so inconceivably extraordinary that it benefits those who try to practice it, or even those who just accept it, that yes, that's the way to go, even though I'm not there. They become benefited. Those who hear about it, those who glorify the pure devotional service of others, everyone, not just the ones who do it, not just the pure devotees who do pure devotional service, but even the ones who hear about it and appreciate it, they're also benefited. Hare Krishna. All right, say it. I'll say it for you, okay? Thank you for the nice class.
Thank you, Maharaj. Thank you, Maharaj, for giving us such a nice class today. You mentioned how with our when we find out our increased our income, the expectation and our desire folds up to many levels. It goes up. But
Are you a working lady now? You're worried about your income?
so I'd like to ask how do we differentiate between the genuine needs and desires? Because we see the mind both has the good desires and the bad desires. So how can we focus so that the bad desires don't come and the good spiritual desires come stronger?
We do like you. We always hear Srimad Bhagavatam. And we take guidance from others. That's one of the great opulences of the Melbourne Mahaprabhu Mandir community. Guidance is real wealth. I always point out that. So many senior devotees, so many mentors, counselors. The more guidance you have in your life, the more wealthy you are. Then you'll be able to handle by hearing from those who are more developed in their bhakti. Nah, working another job just so you can have an investment property, nah, I don't think that's going to work for you. Or, yes, you've got the bandwidth, you've got the headspace to try to make another $1 billion. Go for it. It goes both ways. Some people, some devotees can make a lot of money without it affecting their spiritual life. Others, they just try a little bit to increase their income, and their japa is put aside, they're in such anxiety. So everything is dependent on individual situations. So this is what the Bhamanade principle is all about. Don't try for anything that has a negative effect on your spiritual life. That's different for different persons. You're about to say something or just clearing your voice? Yeah.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Maharaj, my question is a little bit close to what Dvij Prabhu just asked. So his question was can we pray for the ability to be able to do better service? But my question is, how we not get satisfied in our spiritual life? Because a lot of time, like,
How we what? What's that?
we do not come on a satisfaction level as if like I start thinking that I think I'm doing enough. I'm satisfied with what I'm doing in my Krishna consciousness. How can I not get affected by that?
We're being trained to act for Krishna's satisfaction. So you can always, if you desire that level of bhakti, always tell yourself, I think I'm satisfied, but what about Krishna? And that way you'll be protected from such a syndrome. And of course, as Chaitanya Charitamrita explains, Guru Krishna Prasade Bhai Bhakti Lata Bij. Teamwork, spiritual master and Krishna. Therefore, Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, I'm running after the devotee shouting Krishna, Krishna. He doesn't say I'm running after Krishna directly. So our goal is to satisfy Krishna. As Prabhupada said in that famous talk he gave right here in Melbourne, if you're always acting on the platform of what is for Krishna's enjoyment, then you're not living in Melbourne, you're living in Vrindavan. If you're always thinking, how can I act in the best way for Krishna's pleasure? This is the Vrindavan everywhere principle. Vrindavan anywhere principle. It's not a physical location. The residents of Vrindavan are always thinking of Krishna's comfort. Even when they're in so-called distress, they're thinking about Krishna. Oh no, Krishna save us because we're meant to give you pleasure. If we're in danger, how are we going to give you pleasure? So even when they seem to be asking, crying out, forest fire is coming or some demons attacking, Krishna save us, they think, save our service to you. You need us to be happy. If we're dead, how are you going to be happy? So for your pleasure, save us. You got it?
Thank you, Maharaj.
It's interesting that Bali Maharaj was successful because he served the Brahmanas and conquered the whole universe, practically speaking, because of that. And then he surrendered to the ultimate Brahmana and then lost everything. And so displeased Sukracharya, but ended up pleasing Bali Maharaj despite the fact that he lost everything materially. And so there's an interesting characteristic in the Vaishnavas where they don't mind giving up material things so long as Krishna's being pleased. And they, even if they've lost everything materially, they're happy to be with Krishna. So just wondering, what's there's a qualification there, or there's a characteristic in the character of a devotee that helps them put aside that attachment for material things, and even they know, because Bali Maharaj knew he was going to lose everything. He knew it. His guru had told him it was going to happen, and even he knew that's what was going to happen, yet he was prepared to give everything and was happy to do that. So how do we cultivate that quality, or where does that quality come from, where even we know, if I join a Hare Krishnas, I'm finished. But I don't mind because I've got Krishna, or I've got that, there's something there that I get that's better. And so I'm happy with that. So what is that?
Vamanadev attributed it, Bali's great credits, he attributed that to Bali being the grandson of Prahlad Maharaj. And he also said, you've taken guidance from Brahmanas in the line of Bhrigu. These are very great Brahmanas.
Who the demigods offended.
So Bali Maharaj had an illustrious grandfather, Prahlad Maharaj, and his father also, Virochan. The demigods came to Virochan, Bali's father, disguised as Brahmanas, and they asked him for charity. Can you give us the remaining duration of your life? And Varochana said, Maharaj Varochana said, sure, no problem. So Vamanadeva is pointing out, you're such a glorious family line. There's no wonder that you're offering to give me everything in charity. Of course, Bali Maharaj's real reason for offering charity, such charity of everything, as you say, is out of love. My Lord has come in this way as a dwarf Brahmana boy to enjoy pastimes with me. Okay, I'll get into it. I'll go along with it. From the very beginning, Bali Maharaj was ready to give everything, but just for the sake of a pastime. And so Vamanadeva could give his teachings. Bali Maharaj seemed to draw it out, make the whole process longer. But he immediately wanted to give everything. That's out of his pure love. So remember, he's the grandson of Prahlad Maharaj. And let's not forget, he gave everything. He lost the whole universe. Just think of our material attachments and how attached you would be if you possessed the whole universe and then you lose it. But what did Bali Maharaj spiritually get? The Supreme Personality of Godhead became his doorman on the planet Sutala. And so, of course, Bali Maharaj is one of the 12 Mahajans. He demonstrates the devotional principle of surrendering everything. Even, it's described in the Shastra that Durvasa Muni went to Sutala in order to get Bali Maharaj to come to Mathura to deal with some demons. And Bali Maharaj, he went to get Lord Vamanadeva from Sutala to come and deal with some demons. And Bali Maharaj said, nope, he's not going anywhere. He stays with me. Yes.
Thank you, Maharaj, for the class. This is a question by one of the devotees who's listening online. That hearing is one of the ways to acquire knowledge. It is also one of the 9 processes of devotional service. When can I consider that hearing lectures is not just about acquiring knowledge, but also an act of devotional service? Because Srila Prabhupada writes, he can be served simply by hearing. He can be served simply by chanting or reading about his activities. He can be served simply by adoring him and accepting him.
What's the last?
So basically, he wants to understand hearing is one of the ways of acquiring knowledge. But when can I understand hearing is not just about acquiring knowledge, but also act of devotional service?
When you understand that hearing about Krishna means the presence of Krishna. Same with chanting japa. You're associating directly with Krishna. When you're hearing Bhagavatam, you're associating directly with Krishna. When you're hearing talks about Krishna, you're associating directly with Krishna. That's the realization we aspire for. Rather than just hearing and chanting as some mechanical activity done in order to get a certain result. You have the result right there. Krishna is right there in this sound vibration. That's real hearing. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much.